This video will show you the basics of what you need to do to set up your laptop for the KubeCon London tutorial on how to build a web app using AngularJS, Java and MongoDB. In this video we'll cover setting up the project in IntelliJ IDEA and installing and running MongoDB. Feel free to use another IDE if you like, but the setup will show IntelliJ IDEA, and in the workshop I will lean heavily on functionality in it to make my life easier. Now let's set up the workspace that we're going to be using throughout this tutorial. I've got a folder inside my home directory called Projects, and inside that I have a folder called Workshops. In there I'm going to create a folder called KubeCon 2015. Now you can structure this however you want, but if you follow these instructions it'll be much easier to see if you've got the right things or if you're missing something. Next we're going to set up IntelliJ IDEA with our project. So if you don't already have IntelliJ IDEA, you can download it from the JetBrains website here, and you can either download the free community edition or download the full ultimate edition, which has a 30-day trial period. Once you open IntelliJ and you don't have any projects open yet, you can select to clone a project from a GitHub repository. So here we're going to select the GitHub repository option, and then here we're going to type in the location we want to save it, which is our KubeCon 2015 folder. And we also need to tell it which GitHub repository to clone. In this case it's going to be mine, Trisha G, one word, /Cafelito. And then IntelliJ will go off to GitHub, fetch that repository, clone it in your local directory, and in this case, because we have a build.gradle file and it detects that, we're going to tell it the Gradle settings. Here we're going to use the Gradle wrapper, and then IntelliJ will use Gradle to download all the dependencies that are necessary for this project and also structure your project accordingly. You might get a pop-up like this which says that you've got an unrecognized VCS root, in which case you can just add this root and that should set things up correctly for you. That's if you want to track the fact that it's a Git project. Once everything's initialized, you'll be able to see the structure of your project. So here we can see that we have a source folder and we have our resources, we have our test, and we've downloaded all the external dependencies that we need. One of the things we do need to do though, because this won't download empty directories, is we need to create the empty directories for our Java classes. So create a folder called Java under the main directory, create a package in here, which is where we're going to be placing the code, which is com.mechanitis, yeah, I could have picked an easier spelling, I agree, .demo.coffee. This is where we're going to store all our Java files for the tutorial. And that's your IntelliJ setup. Next up we need to download MongoDB. So go to mongodb.org, go to the downloads page. You can download the latest version, which should be a 2.6 version if you want to, and you can see that it supports all major operating systems. Or I'm actually trialing the new 3.0 release candidate. Remember, never put a release candidate in production, but for tutorials like this we can use this to try out any new features. I'm going to download the Windows version of this because that's my platform. And then once this is downloaded, I can extract this file, it's just a zip file, into the correct directory on my local machine. So this is going to be in the KubeCon 2015 folder. I'll extract the contents of my downloaded MongoDB zip. When we go into this folder we can see things like the README. In the bin directory, not surprisingly, you'll find the executables for MongoDB. So let's just go back to the root MongoDB folder so we can call it something slightly more friendly. And that's it, that's MongoDB installed on your computer. Next up, let's just create a folder which we're going to call Data. This is where we're going to store all the data for MongoDB. Now let's make sure that everything's up and running correctly. You can open up a terminal window, you can open up a command window, you can open up whichever sort of command line tool that you want for your operating system. I'm actually going to use the terminal inside IntelliJ because then everything's in the same tool. So here I'm going to navigate back to the KubeCon 2015 directory, and I'm going to type this command in order to start the MongoDB server running. I have to give it the DB path of the location where I want to save the data to. So that's the database up and running. I'm going to open up a new terminal window so that I can check that I can connect to it correctly. So the command is similar again. I'm going to navigate back to the QCon 2015 folder, and I'm going to use the mongo.exe executable in this case. And I can see that I'm connected to the MongoDB server and that it's running the correct version that I'm expecting. So that's it. You're ready to go. You've got MongoDB downloaded, installed and running, and you've got the project downloaded and set up in your IDE so that we can work on it in the tutorial. Your whole workspace is set up and you're ready to get started. I look forward to seeing you at QCon London.